Right, guys, I am going to get started. It's 12:02, and I just wanted to say thank you very much on behalf of WSOS for signing up as a Skills That Shine mentor for this 2018-2019 academic year. I know many of you are new to the program and some are returning. Thank you all. You guys may or may not know how impactful this can really be for a junior in college and for our Opportunity Scholars in particular. And so before we get started, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. I may have talked to you some before, but my name is Hannah Olson, and I am really your main point of contact throughout the entire Skills That Shine mentorship experience. I'm the talent resource manager here, and so my first job is to recruit mentors and to bring them into the program and to partner with companies. But really, my bigger part of my job is to make sure that your experience along the way is really meaningful and that I can answer questions for you, because we aren't expecting you to have the exact same knowledge that your mentee is studying in college or to have answers to all of the questions that they may ask along the way. And so we are really here, and I'm here in particular to be that person who can answer questions and provide resources so you feel like you're empowered to be the most impactful mentor that you can be in the program. And so before we kick things off, I just wanted to ask if you're interested to chat in or type in the chat room if you are a new mentor, a returning mentor, and if you're willing to share which company you're with. So that we could just take a minute to do that, to kind of quickly get to know one another and to see if there's certain people at the same companies and to get to know each other. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We're just getting started and we're having people chat in. Just type in the chat room if they're a new mentor or a returning mentor, and what company they're with, or if they're not with a company, just say maybe what industry you're a part of.
Okay.
And I'm just letting you know too, I'm muting all of the participants just to get rid of the background. It's great to see how many new mentors there are. And just a reminder, so this webinar is recorded, and I will be sure to send this out to all mentors afterwards, and then you guys can also get to kind of know each other that way if you're interested. Okay, if you guys keep wanting to chat, feel free to, I'll keep the chat open, but we'll get started and just do a quick overview of WSOS. So I'm going to share my screen and stop my video for the moment. All right, so many of you likely already know what WSOS is all about since you signed up for this wonderful program. But for those of you who just signed up for the mentoring program because you thought it sounded great, wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what is WSOS. So first I'll start with that. It's Washington State Opportunity Scholarship, but moving forward, we'll be using the acronym WSOS. So we are a unique public-private partnership that's all about preparing Washington students for Washington jobs. What happened was in 2011, the public and private sector came together, recognizing that there's a talent crisis in our state and post-secondary education couldn't keep up with the demand. And so we're all about solving our state's talent crisis and preparing Washington students again for Washington jobs. And so we support students who are pursuing science, technology, engineering, math, parentheses STEM, and healthcare fields at Washington colleges and universities. And so your mentee will be pursuing one of those degree fields and in a Washington college or university. And our students are high potential. We provide financial assistance because we recognize that there still are, but so many barriers to accessing post-secondary education. But beyond financial assistance, we know that students won't succeed without student supports along the way. And we're not just about getting a student into college, we're really about helping them join Washington's workforce. And the only way to be successful is to provide supports along the way, including peer mentoring, as well as industry mentorship. And that's where you guys come in. So our stats right now, we've supported 6,700 scholars to date and are on track to serve 16,000 by 2025. And as I mentioned before, our students are pursuing STEM and healthcare majors. That includes 154 different majors, and that's across 64 Washington state colleges and universities. Quick snapshot of who our scholars are. So every year we produce a legislative report and we report on the demographics for our student body. And one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is reaching students in every single corner of the state. And so our scholars hail from 100% of Washington counties and legislative districts. So here's just on the right hand, you can see some of our stats. But what I really want to call out for you guys and what I think really is relevant for this program is that last stat, 92%. So that's our placement rate. 92% of graduates in the Opportunity Scholarship were employed in their field or pursuing an advanced degree within 9 months. And I mean, I know many of us can attest to how difficult it is to find a job, especially in Washington. And I think this is a really tremendous stat, and it's really possible because of those supports along the way, including these industry connections. And so I'm going to quickly just play a video for you guys that is a snapshot of who our students were last year in the mentorship program. So let me pull that up. All right, can you guys see this video? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody can hear.
72 people, so I can't hear.
All right, so I think some of you guys couldn't hear that, and I apologize. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, so I apologize. But we're just going to move right along. So really what I'm hoping to do in the rest of our time together is to go through some highlights from the Mentor Toolkit, which you likely have already received. in your registration confirmation, and that you'll also receive when you access the curriculum, which you will have a link to once you are selected from a mentee. And then, of course, at the end, I want to open it up for any questions or points of clarification. All right, so the first part, of course, is thanking you again, because we know this takes time and energy, because you're going to be partnering with a student and you are creating a relationship. And so we know that takes a lot of time and effort. And so thank you very much for taking that upon yourself. So I just wanted to briefly note what the Mentor Toolkit includes. It includes your expectations, which we outline because a lot of you might be mentoring for the first time. And so we want to just kind of lay the groundwork for what some basic expectations are. Also outlining the benefits of mentorship for the mentee, but also what the benefits look like for you. And equity and diversity is really important to WSOS and is at the core of everything we do. And so we also provide some resources and terminology around equity and diversity. And we also have best practices for mentorship included, not specific to Skills That Shine, but just general best practices for making the most out of a mentorship relationship. And the one thing I really wanted to point out here is that this email, skillsthatsshine@wopportunityscholarship.org, that is a resource to you at any point during your mentorship. Really, like I mentioned at the beginning, there may be questions that your mentee asks you. You might be wanting to provide them with career resources specific to their university, and we are more than happy to help provide those tips and resources. So never hesitate to reach out to that email and I'll get back to you. All right, so we'll start just with the nuts and bolts of the Skills That Shine program, because for especially some returning mentors, the program structure looks a little bit different this year. But at the core of it, our high-level goals are that scholars will graduate by the end of this program having three main things. The first are very tangible. It's a tailored but adaptable resume and cover letter. Then having confidence and skills to network and interview with professionals. And then, of course, last but not least, having a meaningful and influential experience with you, a caring professional. And so here is kind of the main outline for what you can expect when you dive into the curriculum. Each unit is what we're calling that, has a very specific structure to make this hopefully as easy to follow for you. Each unit includes mentor pre-work, and these are suggested pieces of content that you review, or maybe questions to ignite some different thinking to help you prepare for your meeting with your scholar. And we also have the estimated time required, just so it helps kind of frame how much preparation you should have. And then we also do the same for mentees, which you are of course invited to read, but really it's not expected that you read the mentee pre-work. And then for each unit, we provide a suggested agenda. So we're calling that a session agenda. And essentially, we're providing a framework for how we suggest your meeting with your mentee will go. And this could be over the phone, in person, it could be over Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, whatever technology tool you prefer. But really, we're calling it a meeting, but it's whatever method you choose to connect with your mentee. And then the action, that is for the mentee, but we encourage that you do look at this part because it will help you understand better of why we're asking them to accomplish this program. And so that leads me to one of the key changes this year in Skills That Shine. We have two different types of scholars who are participating in Skills That Shine. The first group are those that are required to participate and show proof that they have participated. And that's about 100 scholars this year. And you are not responsible to know which scholar you're working with, whether they're required to complete the program or not. That scholar will know, and that is because it is based on when they received their Opportunity Scholarship. So something new that we're doing this year and moving forward is that all scholars who are in their third year of the Opportunity Scholarship will be required to participate in Skills That Shine. And that's because in the 3 years prior to this, there were students that opted in, but it's such a valuable experience from what we've heard from mentors and mentees that we want to be able to offer this to every single scholar in their third year, and to make this a requirement so there really is incentive for completing this and being responsive to their mentor. And so if you do have a scholar that was selected for the scholarship in 2018, they will be required to submit a tailored resume and cover letter by December 1st, and that's a part of Unit 1. And if you have a scholar that's is not required to show proof of that, we still encourage them to submit a tailored resume and cover letter, just because it shows progress in the program, but no, it's not a requirement. And again, this is not on you to know which scholar you're working with. They will be aware whether it's a requirement for them or not. And so Unit 2 is the second piece of the bulk of the curriculum. And again, there is a requirement piece included. So if your scholar was selected in 2018, they'll be required to complete a reflection that is located and embedded right in Unit 2, and that's by May 1st. So as you can see, the program really kicks off at the beginning of the academic year and culminates by the end of the academic year. And of course, you can continue your relationship should you choose to. And again, for mentees who are not required, we still will strongly encourage them to complete a reflection. It just asks some qualitative types of questions to hear about how the program went for them. In addition to the 2 units listed above, we offer optional units, and these are some softer topics that include LinkedIn, networking effectively, managing time, and making a strong first impression during your first 100 days at a job. And there are no required program deadlines or milestones, regardless of when your scholar received their award. All right, and so I know that's pretty in the weeds, and so please definitely think of any questions you have, and I'll be happy to try and answer them at the end. So the mentor expectations, we don't need to read through these one by one, but I just wanted to point you to them so you know. Again, we're just calling out that we're a resource, so please lean on WSOS, and especially the Skills That Shine email. We also just ask that what you're expecting of your mentee is also what we're expecting of our mentors, and that's punctuality, patience, being your best self, taking pride in the success. And one piece I really wanted to kind of highlight is support and facilitate connections. So this is not a requirement to being a mentor, but one thing we keep hearing is that social capital is one of the most important things that a college student, especially an opportunity scholar, can have exposure to. And they may not have had experience networking or connections built in from their families. And so what you can really provide as a mentor is help facilitate connections to your colleagues, or maybe invite them to an event where they can meet other people and start building that social capital. I heard this kind of phrase, which was secrets of the industry, and how is someone supposed to be able to get a job when they don't know that secret? And sometimes we don't know those secrets until we get that job. And so I think it's really important to be able to unveil some of those secrets early on. And that includes just what it looks like to do a follow-up note on LinkedIn, or how to successfully exchange business cards. So some of those things we may take for granted. We really encourage mentors to share with their mentee. And then we also just wanted to note that our mentors aren't randomly coming to the Skills That Shine community. They're a part of a really strong cohort of industry partners, as well as new collaborations with industries across the state and their employees. We always are welcome to referrals from different employees and employers. And so this is my plug, but we're still actively recruiting. So if you have friends and colleagues who you think might be interested, please feel free to send them that Skills That Shine email and have them reach out. We're always welcome to having referrals from our already trusted mentors. All right, so this just kind of goes on what I was just saying about social capital. And our scholars are in the midst of their junior year during the Skills That Shine program. They may have just gotten accepted into their major, and they are in the they are in the trenches really when it comes to college, and they are probably focused on schoolwork first and foremost. But one of the most important things that you can offer as a mentor is to recognize that they may have had limited exposure to professional development opportunities, which are also very important to learn while you're in college. And it's those things that you learn outside of the classroom, and mentorship, especially through Skills That Shine, can really help fill in those gaps. And so that's obviously the mentee benefit is pretty obvious, right? You will help them launch a career after graduation. And as we know, it's a very competitive market in Washington. And so you being able to provide that social capital and provide some of your industry insights, that is really a benefit. And to be able to provide just another relationship to them. But a mentor benefit is something that we really urge and we really feel strongly about, because we know that this is going to take time, and we really value your time. And so we just wanted to call out what we hope are benefits from the mentorship program based on anecdotes and research that we've been a part of. So communication, obviously working one-on-one with a mentee will bring up meaningful discussions, and there may be communication barriers. And so listening and asking questions is obviously something that we highly encourage. Leadership, especially for those who might be younger and newer in their careers, this is a really great opportunity to take on a leadership role when you may not have had the chance to. You're able to refresh those skills of applying for a job and be able to teach them to someone else, which helps solidify them and also is a great leadership tool. And professional development, that one's pretty obvious, but when you are teaching skills that you just maybe applied, or maybe that you haven't had to work on in a while, if you've been in your career for some time, it never hurts to refresh your professional development skills. And so we encourage that, and this is us just calling that out, but obviously the benefits will vary depending on each relationship. So as I mentioned earlier, equity and diversity is something that we apply in all aspects of our work. And so we have our own equity statement, which I won't read line for line, but just wanted to note that it's here and that we encourage you to read it over because it helps you familiarize yourself with what our values are and how we work with our students. We also recognize that everyone is at a different place in their understanding of equity and diversity in terms of terms and just general understanding. And so we provided some key terms and definitions, and also recommend looking at the Washington Race Equity and Justice Initiative website. They have some really great resources for further readings and videos and the like. So also included in this section, we have a self-assessment survey that we encourage you to take either right before your meeting with your mentee or during your experience to kind of help you be reflective and assess where you are in your understanding of equity and diversity. And again, we all are at different places, and so we encourage each and every one of us, even if you think you're far along in your journey, to really take some time and take this assessment, because there's always more learning to do. And so included at the end of that are some reflection questions just to help kind of you continue your thinking about where you could grow in as a mentor, and as also just as your understanding of equity and diversity. Okay. So mentorship best practices. I had to throw in a quote because I think they're lovely. But this quote is really true to this program specifically, because our students sometimes think that they want to be with a mentor that knows exactly what they're studying. But an engineer, for example, doesn't need to be matched with a student pursuing engineering. You don't need to know the tricks of the trade and the specifics of what their field of study is. It's really about compassion and creating a relationship with someone so they can feel more empowered to create more professional relationships as they're applying for jobs. And so I think that quote really just kind of helps shed some light on what our goal is for you in the Skills That Shine program, and also what our goals are for our students. One interesting thing I wanted to call out is during some research our program team was doing on mentorship best practices, one common theme we saw kept coming up, and that was the need to belong. And so what we really like this phrase because it's not, again, about the specifics. It's not about someone at X company being matched with someone who wants to work at X company. It's really about helping a student see themselves in that industry or in just a working world after graduation. And so there's three main attributes that are associated with the need to belong for mentorship specifically. And that is that the mentee receives frequent interaction that is positive. They feel that their mentor genuinely cares about their well-being, and that there is a sense of mutuality, trust, and empathy. And, you know, I think that this is just really telling that when a mentee feels a sense of belongingness, they can develop an increased self-esteem and ability. And, you know, this is really just all we can hope for in this mentorship experience. And so we wanted to include that and call that out. But really what it comes down to is being compassionate and being willing to share your stories and open to new relationships. All right. So this is our last section we'll go over before we open it up to any questions. So again, these are some more high-level types of best practices. These are not associated specifically with the Skills That Shine program, but we wanted to include them because it kind of helps trigger some thinking on how you're going to dive into this new mentorship relationship. So the first one is competence. And this is just really all about helping your mentee recognize the strengths and abilities they already have. I think that, you know, I don't know if any of you have taken that Strengths Finder test before, but it's really about helping recognize what you're already good at and leaning into your strengths rather than focusing on, well, I'm really bad at that, so I need to improve on that. And this can come through constructive criticism when you're perhaps reviewing their resume and you're looking at their past experiences and you're starting to learn about who they are. Just offering that type of positive reinforcement is really important. The second one is confidence. One of the most valuable motivators, and this is for people of all ages, is to have goals for the future that you feel are achievable. And we encourage you in your conversations and meetings with your mentee to develop some types of milestones for your mentee to accomplish by the end of the program. And that could be as straightforward as attending one career fair during the year. Maybe it's attending one networking event with you or by themselves or with a friend, but having some tangible goals that then by the end of your mentorship experience, you can look back at and say, wow, this was a great accomplishment, and it just helps continue that confidence building. The third piece, the third attribute is connection. And I think we've hit this on the head before, but it's worth repeating. This is all about developing a positive, mutual, and authentic relationship with your mentee. That is the most important factor that our research has shown in having a successful relationship, and specifically to mentorship. Some ways that you can help facilitate connections is, like I mentioned before, encouraging your mentee to connect with their college or university through visiting their career center or advisor, attending school events or career fairs, but also beyond that, feeling connected to their community and encouraging that sense of connection and maybe sharing some examples of how you're connected to your community. Fourth is character. This one is really, this one is personal, and I think this will vary depending on each mentorship relationship. But this is after you've started to build a rapport and build trust, and you may be able to learn about situations that they've had in their life that were difficult and challenges that they've overcame. And we encourage you to share experiences that you've had too that have been challenging or learning lessons. And this is really just a conversation piece that has shown up in research that has been a successful factor of a positive relationship with a mentee. And then last but obviously not least is compassion. And this can come in many forms. It can come from listening, from sharing. It can also come from talking specifically about issues going on in your community, at work, around the world, and maybe finding out what your mentee cares about and finding some common ground. Some things we've heard from past mentorship pairs is that exchanging articles about current events and just talking about things beyond the school setting really helps develop that relationship to another level. And so that is all I have for you in terms of this kind of general onboarding. And so I wanted to open it up for any questions. Feel free to type them in the chat or unmute yourself and call them in. But if you don't feel comfortable asking now, please feel free to email me directly and continue the conversation. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you, I know that it's different how they're matching mentors this year, where we all kind of create a profile. I'm a controls engineer, and wondering, I think it would be very well suited for me to meet with a prospective controls engineer, like I did last year. Is there any way to control that through the system, or should I reach out to you separately? Is there a way to facilitate that?
That's a great question, and that is something we've heard from mentors and mentees alike. So the tough answer to that is that we intentionally are not asking mentees to match with a mentor based on an exact match on what they're studying and what the person is working in, because first of all, we are scaling this program significantly in years to come to reach all of our third-year students. So that'll be around 2,000 mentors in need. And we anticipate the challenge of doing that exact match based on industry. But also, I think more importantly, and the reason we intentionally chose not to go that route is because the research that we've been compiling is that it's really about that relationship and just being able to share that compassion piece. But we also, of course, know that value in someone studying controls engineering, being able to talk with someone in that field. And so while that might not be your mentee, we would be happy to help facilitate a connection with a student, perhaps in your geographic area, to meet with you and maybe do like a resume review. But let's talk more offline about it, since that was kind of a gray answer.
Sure. I just know that when I was graduating, it was almost impossible to get a job in controls, and I'd be happy to help even outside of this program if any students come to you specifically with questions about that, but I'll follow up by email.
That's perfect. Thank you. And we really appreciate that offer.
Yep, no worries.
All right, I see a few questions in the chat. Great question. I should have mentioned that. When should we expect to be matched? And so one thing, this is about the nuts and bolts of how the program is working. We have open enrollment for students to select their mentor starting now between the end of the year. And so you could hear from your mentee tomorrow, but you could also hear from them at the latest by early 2019. And I wish we had a firmer answer to give you, but that's just based on when students are being invited to join, and also how strict we're being with having specific deadlines on them picking a mentor by. And so you will have an automatic email sent to you when a mentee has picked you. And then that is also, I think, to your second question point, Alex, that is when you will have access to the curriculum. And so we already have that linked. If you're interested in seeing it ahead of time, I can send that out, but we want to just send it to you when you've been matched. And then when you say third-year student, does this mean the students are junior in college or graduating seniors? Great question. We say third-year student, and that typically means a junior in college, and it's based on their year in the scholarship or their credits. And so that's why we say third year versus junior, because some are juniors, but they might not identify as a third-year opportunity scholar. And the reason we use we use that language for third year students beyond the credits is that it's really thoughtful about their third year in the program. Their third year in college is that time when you need to apply for an internship. That summer between third and fourth year is a critical time in having industry exposure and solidifying what you want to do after you graduate. And so we're really intentional about only offering the Skills That Shine program to third years. Does that help clarify? And again, feel free to email me if there's anything else that I can help clarify. But I appreciate everyone's questions. And I'm glad to hear some people have already been contacted. We've only had a few students log in, so don't fear if you have not been contacted yet. It will be happening, and again, it could be between now and the end of the year. We make sure that everyone gets selected, and that is because we have different waves of students we're reaching out to. And so that is a great question. Someone just asked, what if we don't get selected? And so what we're doing is that we first open this up to scholars who are required to participate based on when they received the scholarship. And then we reach out to students who are in their third year who already indicated interest that they would like a mentor. And then we're going to open it up to every single third year opportunity scholar. And then one caveat, and this gets into the weeds, so I apologize, is that if we still have mentors that have not been selected, we will find a scholar for you. And so we may open this up to seniors and fourth year scholars, but our bread and butter is really working with third year scholars because it's about getting that internship. So I will contact you if that is the case. But we're really thoughtful about not over recruiting, in a sense, our mentors. So I say we're still actively recruiting mentors, and we are, but we will be capping it and closing it off in the coming months to make sure that everyone can get matched. And then someone just asked again about the modules, so the units being emailed out or how we access them. And so it is an online curriculum this year through teachable.com, and you will have a link to enroll in the curriculum once you've been matched with a mentee. And so you will get an automatic email with a link to that, so everything lives online. All right, if there aren't any more questions, then I can end the meeting and give you 21 minutes of your lunch back. But again, don't hesitate to email me with any questions. My phone number is also in my email signature, so feel free to call or text me. Just know I'm a resource for you. But again, just wanted to reiterate our huge gratitude from WSOS for you guys raising your hand and saying, yes, I will mentor a scholar. So thank you very much.